Traction problem. You can't go fast if you're trying to push all that power through one tire. It's time to improve our traction. Let's head back to the shop and figure out how we're going to do that. Welcome to Lucore Automotive. Here we go. So here's our first major challenge. We actually have absolutely no idea what rear end is in this car, what gears are in this car. Literally never even had the brake drums off this thing in the rear. This car, 1970 Pontiac LeMans, has been a hodgepodge of other parts before I bought it. It's a 1972 455 that's under the hood, the 1976 6X heads, but the transmission is a Chevy Turbo 350 with an adapter plate on it. Like, we have no idea what is original to this car, what isn't original to this car. Absolutely no idea as far as rear end goes, but we need to figure that out before we can have any kind of conversation about getting more traction. So we put this thing up in the air and we're going to figure out at least what the gearing ratio is, and probably pop the diff cover open and see what we got going on in there, and then we'll make a plan.
So one revolution of the tire, of both tires, the pinion will go around 4.1 times with a 411 gear. So I made a mark on my tire here, and I made a mark on my tire here, and I made a mark here. And we're going to see what kind of gear ratio we have in the back of this car. Except he put it in park. So I can get a rough estimate by rolling the wheels over, and we'll count and see what we have. So
that tire will move, and that tire's doing nothing. So you obviously saw that on video. One will spin,
with your one wheel peels.
Yes.
So I'm going to try and turn both wheels at the same time, and I'm going to count my paint mark here. And we're looking for one rotation of the tires.
You're already one and a quarter.
That's 2. That's 2.5. Not quite 3, so it's probably a 273 gear.
So in the performance world, not exactly what we're looking for. Now this is definitely not a exact measurement. Unfortunately, there were a whole lot of different options as far as what gears could possibly be in this Pontiac rear end. Even if it's the original one that's in this thing, we still have no idea. But we need to know that. So what we're going to probably do here is both change out the gear set to a more aggressive gear number. So it's not a high 2s, it's going to be more of a low 3s. And also add a Posi unit to it. So it's going to be a more aggressive gear. It's going to get less good fuel economy, which is annoying when you're driving quite a bit, which I do drive this car quite a bit. But it's going to make this thing accelerate considerably better. And with a Posi unit in it, it's going to hook up and actually go instead of just turning that tire into smoke.
Or it'll break stuff.
Or, yeah, or very likely it'll break stuff. Now,
It'll probably just break stuff.
let's say this one more time. This is not a race car. It's never been a race car. It's never meant to be a race car. That's not the point. Bill. Bill. But we do want to be able to drive this thing. We do want to be able to enjoy ourselves on the track. And in order to do that, we do need to make some upgrades. Is this Pontiac 10 bolt the best idea?
Basically a Posi with a 308 gear.
Yes.
Gives you the best of freeway ability and the Posi.
Right.
And allows you to, considering this is a big block, well, according to Pontiac people, it's not a big block, but it's the dimensions of a big block. It's also the rev range of a BOP motor, which is what's your
1,500 to 20 to 6 grand.
I say if this intake gets 6 grand, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's basically all over by 5,500.
But with the 308 gears, technically you could hold out second, hold out first, hold out second, use all of them through the quarter.
Right.
You're going to be at the end of your rev range at the end of second gear.
Right.
And with the lower gear, you're capable of a higher RPM, higher speed.
Correct.
Because you're not revving the engine to the moon to utilize a tall gear, a low
aggressive gear, right?
An aggressive gear. So
yeah, there's no real reason to put, especially with the fact that I drive this car a lot. There's no reason to go anything crazy like 373
well, it's
or
not like
411.
you're going to the track to be competitive either.
Correct.
You're going to the track to
just
have giggles and burn petrol.
Right. So obviously we know we have no Posi in this thing. We know what kind of gears we're in. We definitely got to get a bit more aggressive on the gear, but we don't want to get it crazy. So
well, it's got to have a different carrier with the above, because it's a below 273, but it's also an open, so it's got to be replaced either way. So
right.
Carrier, gear set, install kit. When this drive
shaft
breaks, the axle shaft breaks, the wheel is trapped by the bearing, like a 9-inch.
Instead of it coming off.
Yeah, I mean, unless it breaks out there, but typically if it's gonna break an axle shaft, it's gonna break it right inside right at the end of the splines.
Oh, shooting in the sunshine, Austin. Good job.
It's always good for the show. So it's got a hole there, which means you got to take the nut off to get the axle out of the tube. So it's a Pontiac 10 bolt. It's got the trapped axles, so it's got a press on. So it's got a plate. It's got your axle seal. It's got your bearing cup. May or may not stay with the bearing. It may stay in the tube. But then there's a collet that's pressed on. So to replace the axle bearing, you have to remove the collet, cut off the inner race, replace your seal, and then press those items all back on. Not a big deal, but it's time consuming.
It's the first time this drum's ever been off.
Yeah, it's got new brakes on it.
Ish. All right, so here's the plan. We're going to Jags. 308s don't exist. The smallest gear ratio, which is the tallest gear, whatever, is a 336 that's available. So we're gonna get an Eaton Posi rear end, Yukon gears, and a Yukon gear set. So we get bearing seals, races, all the stuff we're gonna need. Jegs has it all in stock at the warehouse up at Delaware, up yonder about 40 minutes, and it is 5 o'clock exactly. They close at 6 o'clock in the warehouse, so I gotta get there now. And I figured I haven't taken the AMC anywhere in a long time, so here's my chariot for the day. 1979 AMC AMX. Hi ho, off the Jegs we go. She's a beaut, Clark. I really do love this car. Of all the toys a boy can play with, this is a great toy. All right, let's get the Jegs in a hurry. I love this car.
today I'm putting a Posi in Austin's Pontiac LeMans to help remedy his one-wheel peel. We got it up on the rack. Jeff was good enough to tear this thing all down for me, and I'm going to try and put a ring and pinion in it tonight so that we can have this thing back together in the morning and start breaking this thing in, because this thing's got to go to No Name Nationals in a week and a half. So let's get it done. I got to start hanging ring gear on this pinion. Zero 020. No markings on the head of my pinion. That's a bummer. It means Austin's making me work harder. It's alright, we'll figure it out anyway. Shoulder bolts. We're still going to lock tight those and torque them into place. Lots of stickers to make it go faster. It's a serious crush sleeve. I've already checked my spline count. It's good. It's a 28 spline crest-on bearing, axle style. Let's get the old pinion and carrier out of the differential housing. So I'm moving right along with this thing. I did the original setup with it with the pinion shim that came out of it. That was a 39 thou shim. I don't have any numbers on my new ring and pinion, so this is going to be a musical shim session. I assembled it with a 39 thou shim on the pinion. My pinion was not deep enough, so I went to a 42 thou shim, and it moved the right direction, but not quite enough. So I'm going to go to a 46 thou shim, and I'm hoping that'll be right where I need to be. But we'll see. So this is the part nobody talks about, is taking it apart, putting it back together, taking it back apart, putting it back together over and over and over again until it's right. But sometimes that's what it is. Press that guy on real quick, and then we'll put her all back together and see what our pattern looks like.
My response was, Chris drops a lot of stuff, so he doesn't say it every time.
Yeah, if I said stupid gravity every time I dropped something, all you would be listening to on my videos would be stupid gravity, stupid gravity, stupid gravity, stupid gravity. Whatever, it's all good. It's right about 6,000, 7,000 backlash. Let's see what our 46 thou shim gave us for pattern. You can see it's real close, but it's just not quite deep enough. So I'll brush that paint around. You don't need a lot of paint on these, but you need enough to get a nice mark. And this is one of those scenarios, like, if I was just putting bearings in this and I was reusing the original pinion and carrier, I probably wouldn't need to change it at all. Oftentimes, even if you're changing the ring and pinion with the original carrier, you don't need to change the settings at all either. But I've been pretty lucky when I just have bearing noise that I can just pull it apart, replace the bearings, and put it all back together. But everyone's different. This one we're doing a completely different carrier, and that really screws up the mix, so to speak. So I've brushed out my paint. You can see I don't have a lot of paint on there, just enough to mark it. Still not there. I'm closer still. I'm still not there. So I went to a 46 from a 42. So I'll bump out to a 50. And maybe that'll get us right where we need to be. In the meantime, we'll take it apart again. Hey, I need my socket back. As my pinion comes deeper in the housing, my differential needs to go away from it for backlash. So every time I'm moving the pinion in, I'm actually changing my side shim over here. And I'm using the old bench shim on this side to hold tension until I have my pinion depth where I like it. Gravity. At least it hit the floor. It's a 46. Go to a 50. I think I do. Do I have a 50? 47, 37. There's a 50. Do I want to go 4th thou? Well, it'll either be just right or it won't be enough, or it'll be too much. We got about a 33.333% chance. Let's go with a 50. Let's see where that gets us. Back of the press. Looks good.
I hate to say this because I don't want to leave you sitting here working on my car, but I have to go home because I have to take care of my belt.
I see how you are.
Unfortunately, she's probably already a little angry.
You can call Kerry, he'll piss all over your house for free.
It's true. He offered kind Kerry. That man is
It's very giving.
he's very kind.
It's very giving. I'll piss all over. Then I'm like, oh, that was golden. I'm like, wow, you don't normally get that shit that quick. So, looks like someone tried to jack it up with a gas tank.
Probably. I didn't do that. That wasn't me.
Oh.
That one wasn't me. Found a happy spot.
4th time's a charm, maybe.
That's not bad.
Or not. I have a 33.333 chance of it being correct because I either got it or it's too much or it's too little. So
that's true.
My backlash feels a little loose, but we'll read it anyway. backlash is a little loose, so we need to go tighter, but I can still get a pattern reading.
Take it apart, put it back together. Take it apart, put it back together. Take it apart, put it back together.
It's mind-numbingly not fun, but
it's a process.
It's got to be right, or it'll make noise, or it'll just explode.
Yeah, or come apart and leave me stranded hundreds of miles from home.
Better take a pair of shorts so you can show some leg to get your hitchhiking on your way back.
Be flying my butt home back from St.
Louis, Missouri.
I'll see you in the morning.
Bye.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Going the wrong way? Might be. Sometimes you've been working all day and then you're working on something at night and you're doing it and you think you're doing it right and you find out you're doing it wrong. I was going the wrong way. I kept taking the pinion deeper, thinking my pattern was getting better. My pattern was not getting better, it was actually getting worse. So I started over. My initial measurement was at 39. I dropped it down to a 33, I think. And my pattern's a lot better. My drive side's almost perfect. My coast side's still a little shallow. So I'm going to drop it down to a 30 or a 28, see if I like that pattern better. And hopefully that'll be this last or second to last time that I do this. But, you know, mistakes happen. It is what it is. As long as it's right in the end, that's what's important. I'm tired. Well, I got it all back together. My pattern looks good. I'm pretty happy with my drive side pattern. I'm going to put it together. My backlash is right at 6 thou. It'll open up where it needs to be. I've got my axle shafts in, put some anaerobic sealer on my seals, new rear wheel cylinders. I'm going to bleed the brakes out. I pulled all of the brake adjusters out, cleaned them up, lubricated them to make sure that those will work. And I actually had 2 of them that were seized, so that's resolved. So time to put the drive shaft back in, hang my drums, bleed my brakes, and then put my cover on and fill it up with fluid. Take for a break-in drive. Stepping in the right direction. I did have this apart and back together several times. It just is what it is. I was going the wrong way initially. I'm looking at a GM book and it's telling me to go one way, and I'm looking at some other GM literature, it's telling me to go the other way. And I didn't see the improvement I wanted to see. I actually ended up coming out, you can see where I was walking around. I'm like, why is it binding? I'm like, oh, well, I'm clearly going the wrong way because I'm binding the head of the pinion against the case. So I stopped what I was doing, started over with my initial 39, went to like a 30, and it was better. And then I ended up at like a 26, and it looks really good. I'm real happy with the pattern. So we're gonna run it, see what happens. Well, it's never just one thing with this car. I decided to bleed the brakes out. We put the new rear wheel cylinders on it. Fail. And my driver's front brake hose decided to collapse and locked up on me. So 2 new brake hoses to the rescue for our 4-wheel drum brake car. Then I can get this thing bled, fill the rear diff, and get this thing off my rack, because we just had a Corvette come in for a rear hub bearing, C3, and it really tore itself up. It ate the hub completely up, so I had to order parts for it. They'll be here hopefully tomorrow, but probably not until Friday. So I need to get this thing off the rack to free up the rack so that we got a place to put cars in. So less talking, more working. luckily for us, our local Napa had brake hoses in stock, and they ran them right over to us. So yay.
Couple minutes for Alan to yap at you. Taylor Autobahn.
Yeah.
So, tell him to hold for a moment.
Yeah, let me get this line put together.
Guy you used to work with, Jim Kindle.
Oh yeah, Jim Campbell.
He died of a heart attack.
Oh, that sucks.
He was in his backyard and started feeling weird, called his fiance, and the time she got there, he was collapsed in the backyard.
That's horrible. He was enjoying his retirement down in Florida.
Yeah. So Alan said he went from doing just fine to dead. So apparently they're shipping him up here for funeral on Friday. So he said if you get a chance, you can call him. He's going to be in the paint booth for a little bit, but that's what he's calling him.
Yeah, he and I worked at Dan Topewell at
Yeah, that's what he was saying.
Tom Gill Oldsmobile back then.
Well,
Yeah, Kendall was he was a character. Loved his Camaros. Loved his third-gen Camaros. He would have gotten along really good with Kenny. He had and G-bodies. He was a G-body guy too. He liked the Oldsmobile G-bodies.
he's stuck in the mid 80s, early 90s.
He was stuck in the mid 80s, early 90s. And that's a shame.
One bites dust.
We're all here on borrowed time. Let's see if we can do this side a little smarter. This hose is locked. I'm going to take off the lower part first, hook up the new hose, and get it all hooked in. That way when I disconnect the upper part, I won't leak fluid all over myself. Although I probably leaked all of the fluid out of the master cylinder anyway, so it's probably not a big deal. But whatever, we can make it work better. Make it work better. There it is. Guess I let all my fluid out already. That's alright, it happens. Oh. I just went looking for my hose that's right here.
Get me climbing in the car.
Ah, I missed it.
Good.
Fat guy in a little doorway. Down.
Down. Up. Up.
Down.
Down.
Up.
Up.
Bruce's handy dandy self bleeder. Posi. Oh, I need GL5 fluid. Got some cheap GL5 80-90 weight. Because at 500 miles, we're just going to dump it out on the floor. No reason to spend big money on that. know if I've ever aligned this car. I should probably put this on the alignment rack. Tires look like they're wearing really well though. This one specifically. That wraps up this session with the old Yeller. I'm gonna go on a 15-minute cruise for my initial break-in. Basically my first up to operating temperature. So rear end break-in, basically you want to drive for 15 minutes, park it, let it cool down, drive it for 15 minutes, park it, let it cool down. I do that like 4 times, and then I'll take it out and drive it, preferably not on the freeway. We want to get multiple heat cycles, multiple trips, multiple speeds, and basically 500 miles, then we'll open the differential up, we'll drain the fluid out, put it all back together with new fluid, and then you can go out and abuse it. A lot of times they get abused a long time before that. We're going to try and do a proper break-in. I want to listen to it, make sure that I don't have any abnormal noises. And if it's quiet and there's no humming, no singing, as we call it, should be good to go. Go get a couple heat cycles in this thing. Click like, subscribe, leave us a comment below. Stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next one. The brakes are still garbage on that thing. I'll try and adjust them up some more. We may need to just put new brake shoes on it.